You are listening to the Hello Sport Podcast.
What's up, punters and dribblers? Welcome to some All Talk Best Ofs. We're very lucky this year, Eddie, thanks to our good friends at SEN, or in partnership with our good friends at SEN. We got to speak to some real cool motherfuckers.
Yeah, bro.
Sure did. So a couple of best ofs that we will have for you over this holiday period.
A couple of straight up thoroughbreds.
Couple of straight up thurries. We're just going to have a little mixture of some nice tidbits from each episode. This first one, Eddie.
This first one is Nathan Lyon telling us about how he dropped the ball at Headingley. Do we remember that? When fucking Stokes went on, scored one of the great tons. Oh, no, they won the test. He'd already scored the 100. I can't recall. But anyway, it also talks about how Tim Payne is the best captain he's ever played under. So, a great yarn.
I talk about, especially that moment of going, okay, I've screwed up. Let's be honest. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 seconds now to compose myself, get back on top of my mark, and I've still got a chance to win this game. And in my head, this is going to sound weird, in my head, I won the game. It's just the fact that the umpire wasn't playing LBW.
That was after the fact as well, that LB that was out.
Yeah, that was the next ball.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you'd actually mentally, you'd got yourself back.
Well, well, I had to.
Yeah.
I had no choice. I stuffed up. I made a mistake. So I had 3 seconds. So this is what I spoke to Lloydie about, like the way I was able to. I go, okay, no, I'm going to win this game. I've still got the chance to win this game. It's not over.
Yeah.
And I know the results didn't go our way and we burnt a review and all that stuff that lead up. And I can't control that. But no, it's just that factor of being able to, build yourself up and with the mental side.
If it makes it feel better, the nation knows that it was a wicket.
Yeah.
And we know you didn't burn that review either.
No,
I'm not going to say you did. It wasn't you.
What was the 3 seconds like before you get back and bowl that next ball? Like, or even just that immediate, like, what was that like in your head, that moment?
I'll check on Goated.
True.
That's a good plug.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, no, but
we'll bleep this out.
it's it's challenging because you look around and you get the crowd going absolutely nuts off the back of your mistake, but then you look around your mates and a couple of their mates, their heads in their hands, there's a couple of teapots floating around or a couple of blokes kicking the ground, whatever it may be. But I can promise you one thing, no one felt as bad as what I did within that. Even today I still feel bad about it, but it's part of the game. That's where you...
Is it true that you were made to watch it like the next day? You had to watch that whole thing back?
Yeah. So JL said, we had a couple of beers at the end of that game, and a few of us sat down in the restaurant just at the hotel and had a meal and a few beers, and had a message come around saying, I think it was 8 o'clock coffee, team walking coffee. And I don't drink coffee, so I'm like, why do I have to come for a walk and go for a coffee? Surely I can have a sleep in. Anyway, so we got downstairs, walked, and we're about to walk out, and they said, oh, no, we're going upstairs first. And went up there, and our analyst is there with a bloody big projector and big screen, and it's got the last 10 overs.
Oh, my God.
It's funny because, like, purely by, like, coincidence, someone sent us it wasn't a meme, but it was like don't forget the day after the Ashes, they had to go and watch this. It's Headingley, right?
Yeah, Headingley.
Yeah, the day after Headingley, the boys had to go and watch the 10 overs, and I just saw it, and I was like, get out of here. That is crazy. What was it like? Were you dirty having to do that, or was it like, well, this is kind of what it's about, or how was it reliving that so close to the event?
I was filthy.
Yeah.
I was absolutely filthy because just got through the night, having a couple of beers, trying to forget about it, laying in bed and staring at the roof, thinking about your mistake and all that stuff. And then the next morning we go downstairs and we got to watch
when your
it.
anxiety's at its highest.
And it's on the test doco, the first one, and I look absolutely filthy on camera, like hood on, hat on, just shake my head, like not engaging in any conversations.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I think that was probably the best thing JL did as coach, especially for me at that stage, was to actually go through it and talk about it. But then the way Payne took control of his team right then, even after that test match, I think was probably up there with the best leadership I've seen.
He came across as a real alpha in that test doco, especially after that loss. Just basically, if my memory serves me, just being like, stick to the plan, like stick to what got us here. Yeah, Paney. Yeah. And then you come out and rip them apart in that next test. Would that have been the fourth test?
Yeah, Manchester.
Yeah.
Paney. I don't know. I'm happy to say Paney's probably the best skipper I've played under. Okay. And that's not saying that Michael Clark and Steve Smith, Pat Cummins aren't great captains. I feel like Paney, he was never the big dog in the team. He's never going to be the best player in the team. When you got the likes of Pat, you got Michael Clark, you got Steve Smith, or whoever it may be.
Ricky.
Punter, Huss, like we sit here all day talk about it. He was never going to be the top dog. So he kind of realised that and he was like, right, okay, no, I am the captain of this team and this is the way we're going to go about it. So I think, I'm happy to sit here and say he was the best captain I've played under. There you go.
Wow. There you go. He certainly comes across that way. He just sort of seems to be oozing out of his pores.
Well, it was when he came in, right, like it was obviously a hectic time and then it sort of very quickly I felt comfortable with him. You know what I mean? Because everyone's like, oh, shit,
he felt
what's going
safe,
on here?
like a dad coming in to just go.
Like a dad,
Let everyone just calm down. Dad's got it.
Dad's got it.
You know?
Yeah.
That's certainly how I felt. That's the way it came across. And I don't know him from a bar of soap, obviously. But when he spoke in press conferences, he calmed me because that was a tumultuous period when he came in. How do you reflect on the saga in South Africa and everything after it? Do you look back and just go, that was a wild time in my life? Or are you just glad that it's in the rear vision mirror?
Oh, I think, I'm glad it's in the rear vision mirror. There's no point hiding behind that. But you look back and you go, shit, what was happening? Like that was a wild time. That's one thing, one way. But I think we went through it. We've learnt from it, and I think Australian cricket's in a better place now for it. If I'm being honest with you, I think, and I've said it before. I think we probably went through a stage as Australian cricket team where we got quite arrogant in the way we were playing the game of cricket, and that's not Australia in my eyes. I feel like Australia plays extremely confidently and etc. But we're not arrogant. So I feel like having that mishap, being able to learn through it, go through the public shame and all that, but to rebuild the Australian cricket team and make Australian fans proud of the Australian cricket team again, I think that was actually one hell of a journey to be on. And I'm so proud that I was able to ride that whole wave and with all the other boys and make Australian cricket so proud again and go over to the Ashes over into 19 and then come back here and, I don't know, just play the brand of cricket that we've been able to play. It's been pretty special.
Who could forget this next one, Eddie? The one, the only, Matty fucking Johns. It was surreal is not too big of a word, but I also don't want to sound like I'm sucking his ball sack. But it was a surreal moment to have the great man in the studio. And this next bit is Matty talking about the origin of Reg Reagan. Post-footy career, you go into... Were you doing footy show before you retired?
A little bit.
So that's like where you're just sort of getting a taste for it all?
Yeah, they'd invite me on and, you know, they were doing they get players on as guest hosts and things like that.
Yeah.
Started to do it there.
And was your natural inclination to be the funny guy when you were on there? Was that always the thing, or did that develop?
I think it developed into a role.
Yeah.
So the Reg Reagan character, for instance, that was born a fair while before I went on.
So you were doing Reg, you were, you know.
The origins, this is where it happened, right? So at the time, Newcastle were in the midst of arseholing me out of the club. And it was a really stressful time. And I was, and it was just, we were about 2/3 of the way through the season.
Was that was that a tumultuous period? Like, I didn't really know how that came about.
It started taking on the life of its own a little bit, you know, It was sort of used as a tool, like, you know, whenever there was a bit going, there was some factions in the club and, you know, one faction was using that against the other. I'll be honest with you, looking back, it was the right decision. I was hitting the wall. I was just about done.
Yeah.
But it was the usual stuff that what happens. It happens. You see it all the time. Where a side's got a local junior, and he's all of a sudden he's 32 and they're going to move him on, and people go, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But hey, you can't run anymore. So I'm sitting there anyway. We're up in Townsville. We're about to play the Cowboys, and I'm lying on the bed. Mark Hughes on the bed next to me, and we're watching the movie that Michael Stipe produced, called The Man on the Moon, about Andy Kaufman.
Oh, yeah.
Starring Jim Carrey.
Yes.
And Andy Kaufman was this genius who was Andy, but then he would transform into these other people. He had these alter personalities, like alter egos. And he wouldn't just go into them like hardy ha ha. He would become that person. And I just thought, how wonderful, how lovely it would be to just get a break from yourself. So I thought, there's been so much going on in my life. Fuck it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to totally take on a new persona. So through the weeks, I would become Reg Reagan.
What, like at training and
Yeah.
Far out. That's crazy.
Warren Ryan, the coach, didn't really get it.
Did the boys? How did the boys
Yeah, the
take
boys
that on?
loved it.
They all
So I
thought
would
you
turn
lost
up sometimes, like in sort of 70s shirts with the big lapels, and they go, oh, Reg is here. And carry on the facade. And I did a couple of interviews. I remember Steve Maskell coming in after a game once, and it was like, oh, Matty. I said, stop you right there. Full-time siren's gone. I'm Reg Reagan. And he was like, okay. So we did this interview with Reg.
That's hilarious.
So it just spilled in and then went on the show, and they got me to do a couple of things, and they said, anything else? And I went, yeah, I've got this sort of alter ego that I slip into. Reg Reagan. Oh, yeah, tell us about him. Oh, he's sort of this obnoxious guy who's stuck in the 70s. He's full of all this false bravado, but again, to cover his underlying insecurities, he's an alcoholic, except now we love it. That's who we are. And so, it went like that.
It's kind of crazy though with Reg Reagan, and I don't mean to like blow smoke up your ass, but like as a character, he has like, it's got a place in Australian like sort of comedic folklore. There's like, obviously you've got like Barry Humphries and Dame Edna and that, and like that was sort of a global export that people. But Reg Reagan like became a full on thing.
Reg holds up.
Reg absolutely does.
And he was he was literally, in my head, he was a different person.
Yeah, right.
Like I would, and I put my hand out, I would transform when I put the gear on.
Yeah.
It would happen. I could be, like I've gone where we're going to do a shoot, or I've had to do this certain thing as Reg, and I can turn up and I'm tired and it's the very last thing I want to do. And as soon as I put the gear on, I would transform.
You're into it.
And I'd have gas in the tank. I'd be sweet. I'm bantering. Things would come. Like, you get there sometimes and you go, right, we're going to do this live interview. And I'd go, how am I going to do that? Like, I'm tired. I don't know what I'm going to say. But then when the gear went on and someone would talk, everything would just flow.
Yeah. There's something about like knowing the character so well that you actually know intuitively how to react to certain questions or in certain situations that are true to whatever he is.
I'll tell you a funny thing like that. Like, I interviewed on the podcast recently Waleed Ali.
Yes.
And I said to him, who is the most impressive person that you've met or worked with in field of work? And he said, this is going to sound outrageous. He said, the guy who does Elmo. And I'm like, right. He said, what you got to understand is, he said, we had him live on the project. He said he had this little sort of area under the table. So we're looking at that break going, okay, there's a guy under the table. He's got Elmo. So he's got the puppet, and he said there was nothing planned. He just said, ask me whatever you want. And he would answer everything in character as Elmo and do the face. Like, you're not just saying it. You'll have to do the emotions with your hand. And
Yes.
And he said he just nailed it. He said, I was just looking down going, this guy's a genius. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying Reg is genius. No, but you actually know if you ask Reg's opinion on something, it would just flow.
Yeah,
I just knew it was that part of my brain. I knew it instantly.
Where'd Reg
Some of the great
come from,
videos.
the name, Reg Reagan?
Yeah.
Because
it's a ripper name.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, you know what? And who he became was a sort of conglomerate of all the people that I knew from Cessnock and people who'd lived in the house, old footballers and Dad's mates, things like that. Like Dad would always say, Dad never found him funny. I said, because Dad, you are Reg Reagan.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think, I said Terry Regan. So I thought part of it was, Rigo's character, Terry Regan, the outrageous Terry Regan. And I went, okay, Terry Regan, okay, Regan, okay, well, Reg, it's got a,
it's got a nice little.
Reg Regan.
And some of the fucking street talk things with Reg, or like the Logies ones, mate, it's funny. Like you look back on the footy show, and again, for people of our generation, that's like golden age television. Like it's just some of the great moments of our childhood growing
Peak
up.
telly.
Some of the peak telly.
It was, and it was fun.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't cerebral television. You never went on there to say, righto, we're going to change the world here.
Yeah.
Like it was just, mate, it was fun.
Yeah.
They were great guys to work with. It was good fun. And you go out on the street talks and just mix them with the punters. And the punters, it's funny. Some of the old women would see Reg and they, side love, because everyone knew a Reg.
Yes.
It was either their dad or it was their crazy uncle. It was someone. Everyone related to him. They knew who he was.
This next one, Punters and Dribblers, is in reference to the Corners of the Earth Kamchatka boys.
Spencer and Guy,
absolute thoroughbreds. Love them both dearly. They talked about how they were held up in Russian immigration. Wild story. Russia had just gone to war with the Ukraine and they find themselves balls deep behind enemy lines, as it were.
as they go to try and create a surf documentary on the coast of Russia in sub-zero temperatures.
Correct. Wild stuff. Because when you landed in Russia, immigration didn't let in a handful of you, let in one of you. What was the situation?
Yeah. So we landed in the plane, and then even at one point when we got off the plane and the stewardess came up to us, she's like, "You guys all good?" We're like, "Yeah." And she's like, there was 2 Russian jets that escorted us over the border when we were flying into Russia. And that was just like...
Right next to the plane.
Did you see them?
No, we didn't see them.
We didn't. Just got told.
But it was just like, it was just
That's
everything.
pretty.
Yeah, like it was like a dream, like not a good or bad. It was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like it was such a crazy day. And I think going into Russia, everyone had told us that, you know, border security is pretty full on and they'll question you and just, you know, there's nothing wrong you guys are doing. So just get your story straight and you'll be fine. And then, yeah, I'll let you tell. This is your favourite story to share. So.
Yeah, this is good. And then, basically we had the pep talk from everyone, just like straight face, paperwork. You've got everything and you just hand it over, smile, and you come through basically. And I gave her my passport and then it like scanned it and it made like this weird kind of beepy sound that didn't sound good. And then I see Letty over in like another booth because it's like those metal booth things.
Yeah.
And I like look over and he's like kind of fumbling and then he gets let through. And I was like, what the fuck? And she's like, oh, like your passport's not connecting or something. And then Guy tried and then Guy is the same thing. It kind of beeped and then he like got denied, and then Fraser as well. And then we were all just like, what? Where's Letty? Like he got through. And then she basically like, she's like, I'm going to take your passports. She's like, I'll be back in 10 minutes. And
Go wait in the corner.
And she just like went MIA for like 2 hours, disappeared. And we're just like sitting in this little immigration area. Like,
And there was people getting like, so it was like a room. We're on these 3 chairs and there's people around us and people are getting sent home. Like people are getting deported.
there's these
around
like,
us.
there's like kind of good cop, bad cop rooms that you get taken into, and people are either coming out and going through or they're coming out and going
and they're
home.
like, you hear him going like, you know, we got to get you on the next flight out, like blah, blah. And you're just like, oh my God, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, it was crazy. And that was what, like 3 hours we sat there, just like no idea. Letty was in Russia on his own with like no Wi-Fi, and he borrowed like the stewardess's phone because she came through and she was like, are you okay? You okay? And he was like, yeah, why? And she's just like, you should be more stressed.
Your friends are not getting in.
And he was just like, oh shit. Like, yeah, it was pretty wild. And then this like bald, staunch, scary Russian immigration guy just like, he's like, Australians or something. He's like, you 3. And we're like, fuck. All right. And like in here, and we like walk into this room. It's just like 4 white walls and a desk. Like, yeah, just scary looking Russian dude. And it's just 3 pieces of paper on the table. I'll never forget this in my whole life. It's like official deportation papers of the Russian Federation, Spencer Frost, Guy Williment, Fraser Dovell, signed, stamped, laid out in front of the three of us.
Passports on them.
And
See
we
you
were just
later.
like,
Thanks for coming.
and the,
See you, Letty.
Guy and Fraser just had like a full mind melt. Like,
Well, he
I
was
just-
like, "What are you doing here?" And I was just like, me and Fraser just melted.
yeah, he just said, "What are you doing in Russia?" And we were just like, I just kind of took over and I was like, "Hey, like, we're allowed to be here. We have all this paperwork." Like, I just kind of got out everything that I had and just like invitations, visas, it's all legit, blah, blah. And he just like kind of wasn't really buying it. He was just like, who invited you? What's your contact? And then he was kind of like, you've got a phone call, like put me onto someone. And I called Victoria, who was kind of like the on the ground, like logistics manager. And she was actually just like at the baggage carousel, like just at the other side. And then they kind of yelled in Russian and yeah, they were back and forth. And then it was kind of like, yeah, it didn't sound good. It was
I remember the only word I knew was no, like "niet," and the guy just kept being like "niet, niet, niet." And I was like, "Boys, this is looking grim."
And then yeah, he said like he like kind of shoved the phone back to me, and then she was like, "Spenny, I'll handle it," and hung up on me. And I was like, "Fuck," like, all right. And then he's like, "Go back outside," and we just like went back out and sat there for another like half an hour. And then he just like walked over and handed us our passports, and he said, "Go on through."
Wow.
It was just so weird. They said our visas weren't like in the system, like they didn't know we were coming.
Like someone didn't send something on someone to
But
something.
Letty's
and-
was?
It was such a trip out because they asked Letty if he had like any other forms of passport, and they asked us all this, but we didn't have we just have Aussie passports. But he has English or UK,
Yeah, British passport.
Yeah, and he gave him his British.
And it made like a ding and let him go through on his British.
So did he just accidentally give over the wrong passport? Like, or did he?
They
No,
got-
no,
no, they
because
asked him if
he
he had
scanned
any-
it and it did the same as ours. And then
But then they stamped his Aussie one, so we were just like, "What the?" It just didn't make
Yeah,
sense.
Didn't make sense. But yeah, that was like after everything that happened in Abu Dhabi and then on the plane and then landing in Moscow and that, it was like 24 hours of like stress, anxiety.
You would have been exhausted after that.
We were
Yeah.
fucked.
And then you got to fly all the way to Kamchatka, which is surely
Ten-
10 hours?
9 or 10 hours.
10 hours,
Domestic
yeah.
flight.
Jesus.
Like
Long
twice
way.
across Australia, pretty much.
And then
Yeah.
straight into the water.
Yeah, straight into -16, 1 degree water.
Oh my
But
god!
at least you were going in the right direction, though.
Yeah, yeah. I think like once we were, Moscow was a little bit like, we kind of got told just like stay in the airport hotel and
Yep.
just like lay low, like you're there, like it's all happening. And then we basically slept for like 6 hours and like all of us just crashed. Like we were in this like shittest little airport hotel and we just like all passed out, woke up in the morning, went to like the domestic airport, which is kind of down the road. And then, yeah, got on the flight for 10 hours and flew across Siberia, like craziest landscape like ever basically. And landed and we were there. And like, as soon as we landed, it was like on, like we were
We're
pumped.
good now,
Like, we're
like,
good.
and,
We're safe. Like we've got the right people that are going to look after us, and like now we got to get to work.
Punters and Dribblers, we are brought to you as always by our good friends at Ned's, the #1 betting platform on the face of God's green earth. Now, if you followed me on Ned's profiles, which you should be, about 1,700 followers I think at the moment, you would know that I got on a horse by the name of My Boy Birmingham on the weekend at $39, and she saluted. Now, it's obviously a boy, probably it's called My Boy Birmingham, so he saluted.
You would imagine it's a boy. Can't be sure, though, can you?
No, you can't.
Probably likely a gelding over a stallion, but again, can't be sure.
Can't be sure. But if you were following me on profiles, you would have seen that the man was, look, I didn't come up with it. It got alerted to me, but at 39s, that's my longest donkey ever.
Not a bad bet to have in the profiles.
Yeah.
A $39 salute.
Yeah.
Makes you look like a bit of a big dick.
Yeah. When you're not.
When you're not. Exactly right. I'm a little bit jealous, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
About the ability to pretend like my penis is bigger than it is.
Yeah.
Very few opportunities present itself for me to do that, Tom.
$39 a do with your name on it.
My Boy Birmingham would have been one of those things. Now, if it wasn't for the fact that I was getting the house ready for a do, I would have been on profiles, seen you do it, and then I would have put my own on. If I was in the About Even group, let's say, passcode dribbler, if I'd seen you put that bet on, I would have followed you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was busy preparing for a good friend's engagement,
Yep.
drinks. But if you don't have that excuse, and most of you won't, then you have no excuses if you weren't following Tom along on the Neds profiles. If you did, you'd have $39 reduced times whatever you put on it in your fucking back pocket. Thank you very much to Neds. And if you do not follow us yet, you're an idiot. Make smarter decisions. And if you're not in the group, again, see above.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website. Next up, close personal friends of the show, Pez and Higgos of the Grade Cricketer, #1 best cricketing podcast in the fucking world. So here they talk about their success in India, big India guys, and a funny Justin Langer yarn.
How much is India playing a role in what you do now? Sort of, obviously, as you came up, it was all about, club cricket and all the sort of like in-jokes there. But how much of a focus do you guys have now on India?
I just think we can't really say what's in the live show. We address it in the live shows, by the way, coming up. But I
forgot about that actually.
But it was really important to us when we decided, let's have a crack at India content that nothing changes for what we do with Australia and the UK. We literally haven't. We've probably increased what we do with Australia and UK. Our main podcast is about that. And we've still been doing the Channel 7 show until last year. We've still been doing live shows. We give as much as we've ever given, if not more. The interviews still continue or whatever. We've literally we've just added this on top of it.
Yeah. Yep. You're now watching IPL all fucking night.
Yeah, definitely watching every game. Every fucking ball.
It's like a week last night.
12 till 4. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank God for KO. But it's commercially not even that much with India.
It's also just because where cricket's going, boys. Just there is more and more India finance the game, so they have to play against someone, and often it's against England or Australia, which is where our other audience is, and America. And so there's just more cricket there, and so if our job is to watch cricket, which for the most part it seems to be we have to watch heaps of cricket, you're organically going to have to watch heaps of cricket in India anyway. That's where all the games are. It's where all the best players play. Like the IPL is it's hard to. I've never watched the IPL until the last 3 years. Yeah, so the final was last night. And before that, I didn't really know who the teams were. I knew some Australians played over there, but I didn't know where the great Aussie players played. We talked before, did Michael Clark play in the IPL? And then I had to look it up, and he played for one of them. I think he played for one of the teams that don't exist anymore. I might play for Pune. Yeah,
okay. Super Giants,
the Super Warriors.
Okay.
Yeah, do miss them.
Yeah, I miss the
Super Warriors.
Super Giants. Them and the North Sydney Bears, eh?
You got to get a rib too soon. Too soon.
Oh, really?
But then you watch it and you're like, oh fuck, it is actually really good. But the problem is for an Australian audience, the game started at midnight and they finish at 4 a.m. It's the most unwatchable time, right? Because you can't stay up for that, you can't get up for that. It's unwatchable for us. So, but that's where most cricket is going as well. Anyway, it's a long way of saying we do more stuff into India.
Yes,
but that's also because more cricket is being played in India for India as well.
Did you find that it's made you enjoy T20s more? I can get around a T20 here or there, or even the Big Bash. I think even the most recent season of Big Bash was kind of good compared to maybe the ones.
Well, the back end certainly got interesting.
But have you found that is some of it a slog, or is it you kind of enjoy watching this shit now?
Cricket generally is
okay, we so we did some live shows through summer, and I don't know if people have been watching the show, we often got told some pretty funny things about Justin Langer by players, and would often talk about it on the show.
Yeah.
And then to his immense credit, we asked JL if he'd be a guest at our live show, and I wrote a full-on thing to him explaining why this would be a beautiful thing, and I was fully upfront that we'd made comedy out of his coaching situation. He appreciated it. And anyway, the point is at the end of the time we had on stage with him in front of the absolutely fucking Schindler's List Brisbane crowd, and we did not get him up for Ask TGC at the end. We were nah. But we're downstairs, and and he like got. I'm sure he wouldn't mind us saying this, but like he went downstairs to the green room and he got his phone out. Immediately sat down and was like buried in his phone. I was like, "Oh, what are you looking at, JL? I've had a couple of beers," and he's like, "Oh, Scorchers score, right?" And I said to him like, "I'm like, do you like it?" And he looked up like deadpan. He goes like, "Mate, I love it." and the whole room stopped.
It was so intense.
Yeah. He's up to the side, and everyone just starts looking at it. And then he's like fixed me with his gaze, and he goes like, "Do you love it?" And I said, "I'm like, it's a complex relationship, JL. You know what I mean?" And then he stopped. He goes, "No, but do you love it? Do you love it, Sammy?"
So
and I'm like,
intense,
yeah,
no,
I love it. I love it. But like, that's my answer to the question about watching T20 cricket. Like, no, I don't think watching more of it in the last couple of years has led to me being like an evangelist for it. Or like, oh no, it's actually good. You know, if you watch it, like, I test cricket. You know, like I'm old school like that. But I suppose we're a little bit agnostic in that's like, well, fuck, like that's just what people are playing, and there's. You know, it's like T20 cricket is not as funny as Test cricket. Like, there's less funny things that can happen for us. Like, there's less content. Like Test cricket is beautiful because there's so much like failure and so much brutality and so like all the pain is magnified and it's so fucking boring and long. It gives rise to more silly conversations.
Yes.
T20 cricket is like made for actual commercial entertainment and by extension like has less bullshit in it, so no, I don't like it as much. but you know, we cover a bit of it, and like particularly at the moment the IPL just finished, so we've just had like bulk clips running out talking about Indian cricket, and so all of our like Aussie and English fans are just like fucking pandering, you're just doing it for the bunts, boys. This is bullshit. And like the Ashes is going to start and it's just going to be all white stuff, you know?
Forget.
This next yarn could be anything. Haha. See what I did there?
Yeah, nice.
Get it? This is the guru, the Roo, the man, the legend. He talks here about not offending players and how he sort of walks the tightrope there. The notes that he creates when he's assessing his next could be anythings. Bit cagey about this, but interesting nonetheless. And he talks about his birthday.
Whenever I am negative or anything, it's only about performance. It's not about that player.
Yes.
And I think I've learnt to deliver that better. And look, and I also think that these guys, like, they're professional athletes. They're all headstrong and tough as nails to get to where they are, which I know is something I'm not headstrong enough to have ever done. Like, and I think that sometimes we think the players get more upset than what they do. The vast majority I talk to are like, yeah, no, fair play. There's some that aren't, and I'm blocked by most of those, which is fine. That's, you know,
it's funny though, because like, but the reality is that not the only reason, but a massive part of the economy of rugby league or sport professionally anyway is that you've got dribblers like us or media in general or the fans who like have their opinion. You want that to be thriving. Obviously, the way the opinion is delivered matters. Like if you're sending like abusive DMs to players and stuff, that's not a way to behave.
But I also understand that when you're 23 years old and all that's happened to you for the last 10 years, everyone told you how good you are, that can be hard to take in.
Yes, definitely. You're not necessarily taught to receive criticism. Yeah. Which, you know.
Like imagine having the same conversations you're having now with yourself at 23.
Look, I was...
and that's one way that
at 23. Yeah. I was doing absolutely... I mean, I'd be like, no, you're probably spot on. I'm not doing fucking anything.
Well, we're at uni. You know what I mean? Were we? I don't even know.
Can you give us a name of someone who's blocked you, a player, and we'll beep it out just because I want to know?
Yeah, he'll definitely want to bleep it out.
Block it, beep it.
And I think that would be to do with...
potentially.
If I had to guess.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? That certain player, I get it.
I also think we probably need to beep some of this other shit because it's all going to get it
very incriminating, yes. But to me, I don't get upset by that. I get it. He's a professional athlete. He's worked his entire career to get to where he is. He's a champion of the game. And me, who's never played the game, criticising something he does, I get it.
Yeah, sometimes though I'm like, why block if you just can unfollow. Like, I get blocking someone, like, if someone's on your page talking shit and, like, spamming you, then, like, you just block them because it's like, you don't need to see it, but, like, you don't need to follow.
But I also think, though, that, you know, and for all you know, that week, that player might have just had a shocker.
Yeah.
Family, kids, anything could be happening in that player's life, and maybe my little negative comment has just tipped them over the edge.
Yeah.
Which happens to all of us.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. What sort of notes are you taking throughout a game? I'd like to look at, like, is
Have you got a book
is there
you
a
wait
book
them?
we can look at?
I used to have a book. I do it most
there a little
over the
notepad?
computer now because I then take it to Bloke on a Monday. I need it sort of on the computer.
Yeah,
So I'm not writing them twice. So I've sort of transitioned to the computer, but I'm very old school like that. If I had it my way, it'd be all pen and paper.
Really?
And it'd be a nightmare. You wouldn't be able to read it.
No, well, that'd be one of
But
the
so
great.
what is it? What, like, can you give us some sort
Well,
of
I can't
insight?
reveal too much.
Okay, so, okay, no, I like that. So there's some sort of commercial
Because there's part of
competencies.
me that knows that someone eventually down the track is going to take the exact same formula that knows more about. Like, I'm waiting for the next player to go, oh, I can do this.
Oh, so there's a
formula to
method
what
to your
you're
mad.
There's a bit of a method to it, yeah.
And is that purely from a super coach perspective, or is that from a general, the way that you are sort of
No, general that I
putting
do.
down the data that you're consuming?
Yes. You know what? It's not like a mathematical equation thing. A lot of what I do is eye test.
It's not like a DES model.
Put in that beautiful
not a Des
mind.
model,
Put all the equations over the screen right now, please, Tobler. Those like,
There you go, a beautiful mind at work. That's unbelievable. Do you do it like little diagrams and stuff?
Not little
like
diagrams.
little pictures?
No. It's not. You're making it out to seem so much more high tech than what.
But you're not telling me what it is,
Yeah,
so I
good
need to use
guru
my
hunting.
Yeah, no,
imagination.
for sure.
Good guru hunting. Yeah,
But like, if you want to take your Reuben Cotter example before,
So there's a way you worked out.
there's certain things that I could tell you about Reuben Cotter that I've been watching for years. Why I knew he'd be successful.
that
So-
you're not prepared to share.
No, and that's good. Like, I love that, a bit of mystery. So for those of you that don't know, was it on Bloke where you first made that call? Bloke in a bar, obviously, Den and Kemp. You basically, it was at the first start of the season, it was like you're predicting Origin players for that year, who's going to debut for Queensland. You called Reuben Cotter out in one of the great... Well, at the time, it was like, huh?
It was
Everyone
left field
like-
as
it was
fuck.
left
The
field.
Cowboys weren't
At the
doing
time, he
anything.
wasn't in. The Cowboys predicted 7-9.
Yeah, and everyone was like, what are you talking about? And then he debuts. So you can't tell us the equation necessarily, but I'd certainly like to hear.
I hate how you keep using the word equation.
No, just I like
it's
it. I know
nowhere
it's not
near
an
as deep
equation,
as
but
that, yeah.
trust me, we will refer to it as an equation.
It sort of is an equation in the sense of like A squared plus B squared equals C squared. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like there's certain things
To
that
some
you're
extent,
looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's
to some
also just
extent.
funnier to talk about it as an equation.
Yes.
Well, I mean, in a sense,
If
it
I
is.
was
It's all
you, I'd
math
call
at
it
the
an
end of the day.
equation. Yes,
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
It's all math at the
Well,
end.
it's
of the
rugby
day.
league math.
It is rugby league math.
Yeah,
100%.
he's like the Stephen Hawking of rugby league math.
Less
Not
the
in
wheelchair.
chair, less the chair, and the, you know,
Less the chair.
less the chair.
Less the chair.
But it's also like the longer it goes, and it's funny when I started off, people would never forget the ones I got wrong.
Yeah,
But now the longer it goes, people remember the ones.
the ones you get right. Can you give us an insight into how you developed this without going into detail of it, or is it too difficult to sort of?
No, to be honest with you, I always just think I've had a reasonably good eye for it.
Right. Where's that come from? Is that like, is rugby league, has it been a big thing in your family?
Yeah,
Like, have you got
100%. Yeah,
Old
huge
man,
thing in
yeah,
my
old man,
family.
or someone who's like always talking about it.
Yeah,
Or
my
made
old
you sort
man
of-
and my uncle were footy nuts.
Right.
Probably not as much as me, but unlike me, they were very good footballers.
Is it true you were born on grand final day?
You know what? I know you've made that up. I was born September 29th, so grand final week.
Grand final way one. Okay.
Dude, yeah, no, I'm changing
Actually,
that.
can one of you
Grand final.
do all that?
What year?
What day was the 92 grand final?
92.
That's so funny, dude.
I reckon I was
Imagine
a day or so off.
if you were born on grand final day, that would be so funny.
Or September 27.
Yeah,
What are you, September?
29.
Oh my
2
God.
days.
Nah, well, dude.
Call it.
No, you definitely say born on grand final day, 1992.
Because there would have been grand final activity 2 days out.
Grand final week, like
grand
it's a grand
final
final
week.
breakfast.
But we'll put it this way: your birthday must. Has your birthday ever been on grand final day? Or
I'm
not
not
since
sure if
they've
it's
gone
ever
a long
actually
weekend?
landed on my birthday. It's always been around. I'm not sure if it's landed on.
That is so funny.
My
I did make
birthday
that up,
too. Little fun fact, my birth date is the 29th of the 9th, 92. That's a palindrome.
Oh,
Same
nice.
forwards,
Yeah, same
backwards.
reverse.
I'm on the 29th as well. It's my favourite number. So
So we should deliver
Yeah.
at some point.
This next one's potentially close to story of the year from our interviews. It was fucking hilarious. The one and only Steve O'Keefe talking about his Smudge Smith story. It involves an e-bike and a lost phone.
it's amazing. Like speaking to Steve Smith, and you hear about him with his cricket. Like he goes, he can't sleep at night because he's visualising the game about how they're, visualises Stuart Broad running in and how he's just not going to get out. And Steve almost has said that on a few times when he's playing cricket, that he's like, I'd visualised the night that hard that I didn't sleep, but I just knew I wasn't getting out. There was no way they could get me out. So he'd turn up to Shield games, and we're playing Tasmania and Drummoyne, and he said, I'm not getting out today, boys. And he made 100 off 302 balls, and he goes, I just want to knock all my bats in. So he had 15 bats lined up. The poor 12th man was just running bat after bat after bat out, and he was just like,
I'm not getting out today.
Yeah, he goes, it's just not happening. And he did, and he didn't. He batted all day. And it's like, when he was playing in Adelaide against the Poms as well, he goes off, as Smudger would say, I found my hands, in his weird thing. Like, your hands are always there, but I found my hand. And then I was like, I just wanted to ring everyone and just say, like, we obviously can't bet on cricket, but I'm like, you bet on this guy, he's just going to have the best summer. And he did from then on. Because once he sort of just clicks and gets into this freak mode like he did in the Test Championship.
Yeah.
When he wants to make a point or prove a point.
It's like when he came back to the Ashes last time after the ban, just goes out there and dominates.
Yeah. I saw a thing on a rival betting agency to the one that sponsors this great podcast, but they put a post up. I just want to try and find it. It was like his last few innings in England.
Yeah, unremarkable. So he averages over 60, but it's like, back-to-back hundreds.
Where is it here?
He's
his last, so 143, 144, 142, 92, 211, 82, 80, 23, and then 121.
Jeez. How did you interpret Kohli's?
That's insane. Like that's
Bradman light. Well, it's probably better. I think he does average more than.
Well, it reeks of Bradman's. I think it was 1930 trip to the UK.
Yeah, where numbers were sort of
reads like that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say, so Virat Kohli came out and said he was the best Test cricketer of this generation. How did you interpret that?
Smudge, not about Smudge.
Yeah, no, I think.
Was that a nice thing to say? Was he basically like trying to lead us into?
Like, was the Test cricket the caveat? Like, he's the greatest Test cricketer of his generation.
But I'm the best.
Yeah, well, yeah, mate. I didn't think of it like that. I thought of it as a.
We're a bit more cynical.
I think, Virat Kohli on the field, he's one of those guys you'd love to play with because he's like an Aussie, he competes hard and he's into you, but off the field, he's actually an absolute gentleman. Like, we looked after him. When he first came out to Australia, I was playing at the academy and he was a young under-19s cricketer and he came out and played. I think I probably said this in your last podcast, but he would come out and I'd have to pick him up at the airport and he was an unknown. He's an under-19 captain for India, but never really started. So we got along reasonably well while we were at the cricket academy, and I used to drive him to ASICS to get half-price shoes. So we had a deal as
Did he?
As
He loves to
cricketers.
love it.
Yeah. So he's like, I'd drive all the Indian cricketers who'd come over and take them to the ASICS factory, and they would get, instead of paying 200, they'd have to pay 100. Anyway, fast forward 10 years, go over in 2017, and we're playing a Test series against him, and he's on this billboard for Puma, and I read the paper, and it's like Kohli signs $20 million a year with shoe company Puma. So I see him like, mate, chance of pair of shoes.
Yeah,
I rub your back, you rub mine. And he didn't even say yes. He's like, I'll see what I can do. I was just like,
right,
$20 million deal with Puma.
He didn't get anything?
He didn't flick me the shoes. Yeah, he just
half price at least.
Yeah, not that nice a guy off the field, it would seem.
Well, where's the ASIC factory? Would have been out the fucking...
Yeah, he could own one now.
That's
it's just phenomenal. But yeah, lovely. I think he meant it with good intent, and I think Steve Smith he's got a method now and a hunger to score runs. It's just if he's engaged and connected, like he just does so well. Like that 100 that he scored, threw his wicket away in the second innings, chasing runs in the World Test Championship. But this series is about a lot of these guys leaving a legacy. Warner won't come back. Khawaja won't come back. Lyon may not come back. Smiths may not come back. So these guys.
Has he said to you what his plans are?
No, I don't. When we chat, we very rare. Like, it's. I'd just say well done, and it's sort of one-line responses, or we'll catch up. He's got a fascination for e-bikes, and we eat dinner together, and like he loves e-bikes and scooters and shit. So what
do you mean he likes e-bikes?
So the last time he was in Sydney, he's got a house in Bellevue Hill, and I live in Manly. He's like, you can get the ferry to Watson's Bay or whatever, I'll pick you up. And I'm like, okay, obviously thinking you can't. He goes, have you got a helmet? I'm like, what? He goes, have you got a helmet? And I'm like, no. He goes, because I'm picking you up on my e-bike. So I turn up.
So what, you got to wrap your arms around it?
So he goes from Bellevue Hill all the way up to Watson's Bay.
Oh, wherever the ferry was. Yeah, it was. So I get the ferry over and he's not there. And I'm trying to ring him and he's not picking his phone up. And I'm like, what? Has he stood me up after just like telling me to bring? So I've got the ferry with a stack hat and, you know, my bike shorts and linen and, you know, looking like I'm going to do the Tour de France. And he hasn't turned up. Anyway, I thought I'll just take him out for 5 minutes. Maybe he's late. Maybe he's hit a car. I don't know. Like, you know. But he turns up in his car. He's like, get in. I'm like, okay. He goes, hold this. So he gets his iPad out. So on his way down the e-bike, his iPhone had fallen out of his pocket. And he'd lost his iPhone. Oh. So now we're on the hunt around eastern suburbs with Steve Smith in his car with his iPad trying to find my iPhone. And it's like beeping and moving. So we're like, is this the car? We're behind it. We're yelling out the window. And then we saw these bunch of kids. And hi, guys. You haven't seen a phone on the road? And these kids are like, are you Steve Smith? He's like, yeah. Can we get a photo? So now we're stopped in the middle of the road while kids are taking selfies. He's lost his phone. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing of all time. I still got my helmet on my lap with an iPad and we're looking for his iPhone. Anyway, it stops beeping and it's in this house. So he's like, it's got to be in one of these houses. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, can you get out and knock on the doors? I'm like, me? I'm not fucking knocking on the
You
doors.
do it.
It's your phone. Well, I just come over there so we can have lunch and hang out.
And it's not going well.
So, yeah, but he goes, yeah, but I can't do it. And I'm like, you know, I guess, you know, you're Steve Smith and I'm Steve O'Keefe, the shitter of the two Steves. So I'm like knocking on this door and this guy's like, no, mate, like, you know, get off my property sort of style. And then the next one, this guy had it and he found it and he was actually going to take it to the police station. He was getting into his car and we're like, you haven't picked up a phone, have you? And it was just smashed to bits. The screen had gone wild. But yeah, it was a funny.
That's so funny.
It was a funny
That's
story.
so funny.
So
did you go to lunch in the end?
Yeah, we ended up going. We had a feed. I said, and he didn't know much about his phone because he's when you go away and you play so much cricket and you live a sheltered life, everything's done for you. So you know, he thought, I just have to buy a new phone. I said, mate, you can get a screen fixed in 20 minutes. You know, so he went and got it fixed down at the local thingo, and he had his phone back in half an hour.
That's such a good story.
So, but I didn't get to go on the e-bike. That would have been great. Just dinky. You know,
dude, I would have loved to have pulled up to you guys at some traffic lights and been like, "Son, what the fuck's going?"
Just with his
But was
Flintstones
that the
helmet on
plan
when I was
for
8.
you two to share a seat?
Honestly,
You know what I mean?
I'd be like,
your
hey,
own
dude,
one.
hey, dude, just get a fucking car. I don't want to ride on an e-bike from Watson's Bay back to Bronte or wherever you live in. Like, what is going on?
He just loved the idea
Loves
of
his
the
e-bikes.
e-bike and thought that, you know, me having a dinky bike was going to be exhilarating. I'm like, this wasn't fun when I was 6, let alone when I'm 36.
Well, we know where he gets his thrill. We've all got our vices.
So you got Cameron
We've all got our
Green worth
vices.
$3.5 million. You got Steve Smith who owns half of Koala mattresses, and they're both obsessed with an iPad and an
e-bike.
I mean, there's something really sincere and
You're
nice
absolutely
about
right. There is.
that you know, the simple things in life they really enjoy.
Yeah. Give me a Mercedes or a Ferrari.
Yeah.
If I'm
about
in
his
smudge as
$15
well.
million Bellevue house.
Yeah.
E-bike. Whoa, mind blown.
No, dude, check it out, dude. Charges in 20 minutes.
Yeah, look.
All right, dude, I get
Not
it.
even pedaling.
Our good mates Betoota also came in this year for an absolute rip snorter of an interview. We talked all things Super League wars when there was just a disgusting amount of money getting thrown around to the point where it was just getting offered up to basically whoever, even to the wrong blokes. Great yarn, this next one. How do you approach something like the Super League war? Like, where do you start? Do you go down to the library and start digging through books?
The one thing that everyone thinks about when they think Super League war is I feel a lot of people laugh about the now discontinued franchises that they tried to create. One of which the North Queensland Cowboys was, and it stayed. We always laugh about the Hunter Mariners. We laugh
South
about
Queensland
Perth
South
Reds.
Queensland Crushers, Perth
Melbourne
Reds.
Storm.
Adelaide Rams is the really fun.
Oh, they're
The
the
Rams.
best.
Yeah, the Rams.
Adelaide Rams is crazy. They
Mate, they had Rupert Murdoch on there, like he's worth 800 rocks at this point, and he's up there
like holding a Steeden backwards and just being
With
like,
Kerrod
hey,
Walters.
hey. And then
shit.
he has a kick at goal in like his like $900 loafers. And fucking just
Why
like,
those
just goes
cunts
down the
feel
pitch.
like they need to insert themselves
Well,
into the point of kicking a
But
football?
that's where it got to the point where they're like, we're at war now. We have to bring out the big guns. I think when you think about who Rupert Murdoch is now, when you think about who decides who wins wars, he decides who wins elections, presidential elections. To think that not even 30 years ago, this poor bloke had to put himself on Adelaide Oval with Kerrod Walters in an Adelaide Rams jersey, trying to get this thing off the ground.
And there were people who went to high school with Rupert there just going, hey, Rupert, give us a talk, Rupert.
Yeah, knowing the Unco guy that was at school. Where he's
Well, you
trying to
can't say he hasn't earned it, right?
Yeah.
From that
Hey,
perspective, like he's
He's
got
a
that dog in
yeah,
him.
he's a
Mate,
savage,
he's
dude.
the fucking Andy Dufresne of Australian fucking media. Like he's crawled through a river of shit and come out clean on the other side.
And only in his later life has he become the villain. Like it was always Kerry was the villain.
Right.
Kerry had a good larrikin thing going on, but he was a big, mean bully.
He looked terrifying. There's a photo that you use.
He was a big hulking
When you
man.
use like, there's like a graphic where you sort of have like a thing of Kerry and fucking Rupert, and the face that Kerry Packer would pull is just. And I was every time it came up, I was like, dude, he looks fucking terrifying. Like if he was screaming at you, and at one point where he sort of threatens a bunch of people in that thing, where it's like, I guess when there's like a moment where
the loyalty contract,
where he's like, you know, sign this in 2 days or you fucking, and then if you
or
don't, I'll come for you personally.
Yeah.
I'm now like wigging out about giving away too much.
No, you're right. These are all right.
No, it's
We've
all
got
right.
plenty that we couldn't necessarily fit in because it was all navel gazing. But like, obviously that Adelaide Rams thing we didn't get to finish because there was too much of it. Like there's him on the oval with Kerrod Walters. They fly out the American, what would you call this genre of music? Twist? Musician?
No, it's his. He was one of the pioneers of big band swing.
Yeah. Was it Chubby Checkers?
Chubby Checkers.
Chubby Checkers.
They had him out there on Adelaide Oval wearing full Adelaide Rams kit going, let's twist again like we did last
Get
summer.
fucked.
Yeah, I know.
that was
like-
before
That's the
Tina.
most rugby league thing ever, though, dude.
And this is when
95, 96, yeah.
Yeah.
They tried
The
to
amount
launch
of
us.
money as well, I didn't entirely like. I'd heard some Dell stories, like about what he got paid, but the Bradley Club one, I was like, holy fucking shit, or
staggering money.
staggering,
Yeah.
or the way that they get the Sharks on board is so.
I know,
like,
and you got
They don't
a
agree
young
to
Matt
anything.
Rogers.
Matt Rogers,
going,
19 years
"Bruh,
old."
What are you talking about?
So-
like that shit is hilarious.
The absolute crux for this story started when we interviewed Matt Rogers on our podcast, and we briefly touched on the Super League wars and where he got his real start as a foundation player for the Sharks, and he was like, "Oh mate, there were people like climbing through windows because they'd be like they'd been paid through the window at a team meeting and they couldn't go back into the room, so they had to climb out of this window after they'd been given this like."
After they'd like a
brown paper bag of
Cash
money,
up front.
So all these people would be like, "Where did fucking Matt go?" And it's like he went into the bathroom, got paid like $90,000 in cash just as like a sign-on bonus, and he crawled out the fucking window.
It is unbelievable.
Well, I mean, that was... for the Telegraph journalists who are going to run that, it wasn't Matt that did that. Matt told us the story of someone doing that. But these yarns that we put in it, right, and you think they're mind-blowing, these are the only ones we could clarify. There's plenty of, yarns.
Where
you know
do you
what I
hear
mean?
these
So
whispers
many
from?
yarns.
Like, they'll all tell you.
The journal.
So they tell you, but they
They'll
can't
tell you, but,
substantiate it.
the ones that they want to, put on air, that was, we got those ones. We got Johnny
like-
Brewer we spoke to. We couldn't actually fit him in, but he was on the back end of his career, journeyman.
I didn't even know the fuck that is.
Johnny Brewer was a journeyman for Balmain. Chasing maybe 40K for one more season. And then the boys said, mate, go along. Everyone's getting a start. And all they were telling each other, the players, was when they make you the offer, say, this is all you got to say. I was hoping for a bit more up front. And every one of them did it. There's so many stories like that. And then there's yarns like the way they had to travel to get these guys, because they had to get them away from home to get
At away
these players.
games.
So
yeah,
you
and it was
saw-
all like in the cover of darkness.
in the
sort of
cover.
shit.
No, but there were yarns.
On
with-
April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Blitzkrieg.
That seemed intentional, though, right?
That's got it. Was that?
intentional.
Do you think?
No,
that
it was April Fool's Day weekend. They were. Yeah.
But do you think that was?
Doing it on that day was like an intentional fucking...
Absolutely not.
I
Like
think
no,
it was
like
moved
having
now.
Okay, right.
Like having interviewed all of these guys, that just would have been at the back of their mind.
Yeah, it
This
wasn't
whole
about like,
thing.
let's try and do something fucked it. Like,
But
let's
there
just get
was
it done.
one really fucking funny story. This is a yarn, so you don't know if it's like how above board it is, but it was how when the Super League went over to New Zealand to try to
we tried to animate
to try to
this.
sign some players.
They just couldn't. We couldn't.
They couldn't get it right.
We couldn't. We couldn't animate it because
Yeah.
the boys involved don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
right.
basically, they send over this pencil neck fucking dude
Murdoch
from
goon, like
from the Super League who's like, all right, I'm gonna go over and sign some Warriors players. There's one guy there who was really, really good.
the captain.
Yeah, the captain, and they were like, all right, this is what we're prepared to offer for you, and it was like a telephone number, and he was like, oh, yeah, sure.
So they were looking for Johnny so and so. It was an Islander name, Johnny so and so.
Yeah.
So they make the offer.
So they make the offer, and so as this guy's walked into the room, he's been like, "Oh, this is a lot of people just for little old me." And he was like, "All right, here's your check. Here's the sign-on bonus." You go, and he goes, yeah, sure. That's like that'll do just fine." He leaves, like runs for his life. Then in walks the actual Warriors captain and goes, "Hi."
Whose name is Johnny something other Islander name.
Yeah, and this guy from the Super League has realised that he's given like a proper Kiwi journeyman an absolutely abhorrent amount of money.
Oh my god!
So this guy, because this guy from the Super League couldn't tell any of them apart.
He doesn't know who the fuck that is.
Because he was like Murdoch.
So, like,
it was a Murdoch suit. He didn't know the game.
He doesn't know what he's
shit.
doing.
Yeah. So he's fine. Like, so this fucking dude has taken off in his Taro Cash suit down the hallway, running down the stairs, going like, "Where the fuck is this guy?" And he catches him, which is the worst part. And he just goes, whoosh, "Come back upstairs, and we'll do you a much better offer." And he was like, "Oh fuck."
Oh, no.
He bolts out of there, gets to the lift. He's down the bottom. He's holding the check, and then they figure it out. They meet the captain. We've just given a fringe fucking warrior a salary that belongs to a captain in a distorted Super League war. Like millions, maybe, to a fringe bloke. So they hit the stairs and they met him down the bottom and
We hear
told
that, like Clyde bloke. What he got?
Bradley Clyde.
Bradley
dude.
Clyde. Like,
the
my god.
equivalent of kind of winning a small Powerball.
Which
Like
my old
these
man
guys.
did the other day. He kept me a message. He won power. Not, I don't think it would be anything like that. He won 14 grand.
He won runner up.
14 grand.
He won 14 grand. He sent us a text the other day. I'm like, there you go. Next up, we've got a little yarn from our friend Toby Rudolf, the Cronulla Sharks' big bopper. And basically how when he came to the club, he was one of the great pains in the arse and Wade Graham hated him.
How were you when you found out you'd been signed by the Sharks?
I remember I was parked up at a Woolies, which
Yep.
was most of my job. Parked up at a Woolies waiting for a lunch break. And I get a call
In the truck?
In the truck, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Get a call from this bloke, and his name was Grant Jones. He was the recruitment manager at the Sharks at the time. So, mate, want to get you down for an interview with Shane Flanagan, all this sort of stuff. And I hung up the phone and proceeded to scream for about a minute straight of
Hectic.
just pure joy. Like
Good.
it was one of the best moments ever. I called Mum straight away. I was almost in tears, and yeah, it was. I still get a bit of goosebumps thinking about it now.
Well,
eh?
it's kind of like, it sounds very cool. It's like you're in the truck, you're grinding, you're trying to fucking chase your dream, and then you just get that. And it's like a moment with yourself. You just get to scream and just be like absolutely jacked.
That's sick. I love that.
Yeah.
How'd the chat go with Shane?
Was really good. He got sacked about 4 weeks later, which was a shame. But the chat I had with him was great. He seemed like a really nice guy. And now when I see him, because he's the guy that got me there in the first place, you know, it's always a handshake and a how you going and a good chat. So, yeah, thank you very much, Mr.
What are you
Flanagan.
talking about there? Is it like
When I go down to see the Sharks?
Yeah.
yeah?
It's like, oh, you had a good year. What do you see yourself fitting in this group? I was playing on the edge back then. I wasn't actually playing in the middle of the field. So he's like, where do you see yourself? And I just sort of said anywhere just so I can get a start. And it's just, more just him talking about how good the Sharks are. That's sort of any NRL coach does.
So they're more just trying to sell you on the club as opposed to, I mean, I'm sure there's a part of it where they're trying to get a read on you, but it doesn't feel like that.
No, it's more just them trying to, sell the club to you as a thing.
Do you feel like you need to go prepared with right answers? I don't think I'd be able to prevent myself from seeing it as like an interview almost.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it sort of is that way, but you can't really prepare for the answers. Like, these are ask you questions that are pretty simple, pretty basic about where you're from, what do you want to achieve in the next few years? Where do you see yourself? All that sort of thing. So it's not like it's a job interview per se. Well, kind of is actually, if you put it that way. But there's not like asking you rocket science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rugby league after all.
It is rugby league.
It's a simple game. It's a beautiful game.
Beautiful.
It's a complex game, but it can be a simple game.
Well, it's hard to simplify it because it's quite so complex. I think Matty Johns said that. It's
Yes.
really hard to simplify, mate.
Was that when he was running shape? Was that
Yeah. Oh, who knows?
So how long were you there once you signed with them? Like, do you play straight away? Like, do you play the next
Sharks?
year? Yeah. Like, or
Well, it was interesting, right? So we won the Q Cup, and back then the winner of Q Cup and the winner of New South Wales Cup play before the grand finals, a curtain raiser.
Yeah.
So I played in that game, did my knee, did my ACL in that game, which was torture. So I remember like looking at the team going, Aaron Woods, he's out, I'm in, let's go. That was my first honestly God thought. If Woodsy's listening to this, love you Woodsy, absolute legend of a man.
He's at Manly now.
He's at Manly now, yeah.
We're Manly fans. So
I can tell.
Yeah, well,
that is a doozy photo.
Yeah, well, that given to us by Jake and Tom.
Was it really? Yeah. So he took his own photo of himself.
Well,
like
that was what was funny.
Well,
It was
Jake, Jake took it off him.
Yeah,
and then he signed it.
Yeah, exactly. It is funny though because it was so un-Trebojevic to like they're such humble, nice guys. It was almost funny to have them giving us a photo of Tommy. But they did, so they're full of themselves.
I think he had something sitting in the garage.
They're full of themselves. It's official.
Actually arrogant.
Yeah. But so you did your ACL.
Yeah, I did my ACL. So it was so annoying. I had all these grand travel plans. I was going to Nepal, my brother, to go trekking across different mountains and stuff, and I was going to go to Vietnam, check that place out. So that all came crashing down. So that was just tears.
But you'd already signed with them at that
already
stage, at
signed,
least?
luckily.
Thank fuck.
Yeah, that was very lucky. So the whole next year I was in rehab. Didn't make a connection with anyone. Everyone in the team hated me for 9 months.
What do you mean? Like actually, or is it just they
didn't like me? They literally did. Well, I was in rehab with Wade Graham. This is a pretty well known story I've told a couple of times. Okay. So Wade and I are in rehab together, and I'm just like being too much for myself. I'm going in. I'm changing the music. I'm telling him how I won a Clive Churchill medal and how I won a grand final. He's done fuck all in the game.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Why were you doing that, do you reckon?
No, it's just me. It's just who I am. I'm just a fucking idiot. But
do you think were you maybe nervous and trying to
Yeah, it could have been a bit of nerves, a bit of trying to be liked, trying to be like.
Do you think you were trying to be funny and lighthearted? As opposed to
that's what it was. It wasn't me being serious.
You weren't being
at all.
a prick. It was just
I won a Clive Churchill medal in reserve grade.
Sorry, that's what I was confused. I was like, what the fuck's going on here?
Sorry, I called it a Clive Churchill. I still call it a Clive Churchill. It was actually a Duncan Hall medal.
A Duncan Hall.
Because you confused me then. I'm like,
I was like, wait,
but I assumed you meant second grade.
Yeah, yes. No, I say Clive Churchill, and I still say it now like as a J-up, but obviously now I play NRL, so it's a bit different.
Yes.
Back then it was more of a J-up, obviously.
Yes.
So he just told everyone he hated me, pretty much, that I was a fuckwit.
So you got Wade offside.
He literally went into Flano's office when he was still there and go, either sack him or change our times or I'm gone. Like, there were the three options.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So how did you find out about that then? And, did you have to change something that you were doing? Or, that would have rattled the fuck out of me if I realised it.
It was a bit hectic.
Yeah.
The way I found out was Wade just stopped coming to my rehab times, and I was like, oh, it's weird. He must be a bit further ahead of physio than me. Then he told me to my face what happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's like, I went to Flano because you were doing my head in. And I was like, oh, okay, sorry.
When did he say that to you?
Probably about a month after. I was like, mate, where you been? I don't see you anymore. He's like, yeah, it's because I went to Flano and told you to get fucked. I was like, oh,
whoa,
sick.
Heck.
Did you
cry?
Yeah. Like that would have given me hectic anxiety.
Yeah, I didn't feel good about it, obviously, but it was warranted. I knew I was carrying on like a fucking pork chop. There was even one time, this got me on side a little bit with the boys. It was a Christmas party. I got surgery maybe 4 weeks before. So I'm still in a brace. I'm still pretty sore. End up getting absolutely blind at Gow's Chrissy party. And I'm doing the same thing. I'm going, you guys come third last year. I won a fucking grand final. I won a Clive Churchill. Josh Morris didn't take kindly to this, and he starts piping up, going, "If you play for your country, you play for your state, you played a game at NRL, you played fucking nothing." And he full hated me as well. So yeah, it was baptism by fire. Some guys got on side. Matt Moylan thought it was the funniest thing of all time.
Yeah.
Andrew Fafita liked it as well. So some guys liked it, but most of the boys were like, "Who the fuck is this?" Like, imagine that. Imagine some bloke coming across and saying all these things. So, it only started turning around when I played, and I actually played all right for the Jets, and that was what turned it around. Started going out with a drink after the boys after a game, and that was it.
Are you mates now?
Sweet as. I was like, I told this story to Josh Morris on the radio 2 days ago before our game, and we had a big hug, and we're all sweet now.
Yeah,
was good.
right.
That must be a relief.
A little bit, yeah, 100%.
It almost puts more pressure on you to perform, though, doesn't it? You're like, Jesus
Well,
Christ.
it did, yeah. Like the boys are sort of saying, I remember I played a game, one of my third game back after my knee. And I played really well, scored a try, and was like defending very well. And all the boys afterwards started calling me Clive, and I felt so good about it. I was stoked. Yeah,
Clive.
That's mad.
Next up, we have the powerful Millie Boyle, who came on and spun some really honest and insightful yarns just around where she sees the women's game and how she sort of craves more honest feedback instead of just bullshit, sort of people trying to say what they think that she wants to hear. We also talk star signs.
Love star signs.
Listen, if you don't like star signs, then you're an idiot.
I'm a Gemini.
Aquarius, horoscopes, all that sort of great stuff.
Do you ever feel like when people talk about the women's game that it maybe feels sometimes patronising? Like it's not meant to be, but like I can't sometimes help talk about it and go, geez, the quality's really good.
I know.
How good's the quality?
What?
You're like, I don't know how to say it without sounding like a fuckhead. But
I know. That is a pet hate. Like, it's almost like a stock standard thing that comes out like, God, how good is it going? Like, it's all right. You're allowed to say, oh, God, that game was terrible. Or, you know, like, it's like you're going to be shot for saying something bad about women's sport. Like, if we want to be taken seriously, we need to take that criticism as well and take that, be accountable for, you know, not having the best performances. And yes, there's reasons, you know, why, you know, play an Origin after you haven't played any footy at all, no one's in form, that kind of thing. Like, yes, the standard's not going to be great, but I feel like we would actually open it up to more people if there was people didn't feel bad for having judgment on it.
But also that could create an environment where you go, well, the reason we were shit is because of this, so let's do something about it. Instead of sort of ignoring the fact that it wasn't necessarily up to standard.
It's like we're all like cheerleaders.
Yeah, you could go, well, how do we fix this?
But also the same way that, like, you know, the way that we sit here and we'll talk about the weekend's footy from the NRL, or we'll do it with bloke in a bar. Or like, you're getting real, like we're reviewing honestly. So the Tigers are a shit rugby league side. The Dragons are a shit rugby league side.
Awful. But even like we said all the time, the rugby league, the NRL at the moment during the Origin period can be hard to watch.
Yeah.
Just it is what it is, right? Like there's no point.
I know.
It's like honest appraisal in a way that isn't coming across like it's being some misogynist piece of shit.
100%. I know. I feel like that hasn't.
I'm also not saying that because I'm desperate to shit on women's rugby league. No. It was more
give me a platform.
We understand that. We seriously do. And I actually I don't know. Not everyone's the same. Some people don't like hearing it.
Yes, of course.
I actually hate it more when someone's gone, oh, God, that was like our first game, Origin. God, it was bad. It was actually embarrassing. Like, I felt embarrassed. And
did you feel embarrassed playing or afterwards?
Both.
Okay.
I was like, what? We dropped the ball. Like, it was like a game of rugby with the amount of scrums we had. Like, it was just ridiculous. And I was like, what is going on? Then I thought, and then afterwards, like, they were like, hey, guys, we had 43% more viewers than last year. And I've gone, oh God, like if this is what people are tuning into for the first time, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And we are so much better than that as a product. And if that's what people are going to turn on and watch and that's going to be their judgment of it for the first time, that's what I hate. Like,
for sure.
But we've got to be able to cop it, you know, on the chin and go again. And we've got more teams now, so we've got more games. And no doubt, like within a couple of rounds in, we're going to see some good footy. So
the improvement, how have you noticed the improvement as a player, like from first season to now, like like from an opposition perspective?
I think particularly spine players are starting to, like, we're getting spine players that are actually really owning their craft, and they're really good at it. Like, we're seeing people that are dead set good fullbacks. Like, Tamika Upton is the best fullback. Like, she is freaky, so good. And there are players like, whether it's Keely Davis in hooker or, Olivia Higgins, like people that are actually nailing their craft on, like, not just playing footy and eyes up footy. Like, they're actually understanding the game more, which helps the whole team.
Nothing wrong with playing eyes up, though.
No, no. I'm saying
we're big fans of eyes up footy.
I meant they're almost doing eyes up footy, but in a way that's like productive for the team,
100%.
not just like
not just
doing
fucking
this.
what are we doing?
Yeah,
here?
exactly.
It's
I feel like
considered.
before it was
bit of a game plan executed.
Before it was like, who wants to play? Let's just get 13 people that want to play.
Right.
Now we're getting like people who are actually good at that position.
Yeah, I'm actually a half.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And also the way you're seeing, again, like some of the things you're seeing, or at least that I feel like you're seeing in the way that the women are playing, where you're going like, holy shit, that was like a really well executed fucking like backline move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's actual, and we always talk about run and shape. We don't know what that means necessarily, but out the back of shape, run and shape. But
there's shape, Tom.
I can't remember where I saw this the other day, but there was just some it was like some 2-man cutout ball to a wing, and I was like, that was just crisp as fuck.
Yeah.
And like, it just looked really good. And again, you're juxtaposing that with the AFL, where I'm like, you're just not seeing anything. You're not seeing anything like that.
No, and it'll come, and it's getting more and more common, and we see it in training. That's why we know we can do it.
Yeah.
It's just like we'll get there with the more can't beat game, like playing games.
Yeah,
Can't beat that game fitness and that put under pressure like that. So it is heaps better.
Yeah.
And there's not just people playing any position. They've actually got a position. I will still forever be in the front row because I don't have much of that skill,
Okay.
But there are players that are very skillful.
Is there anyone that you have a bit of a rivalry with? Like, do you ever sort of like get in someone's face and tell them to run at you? Like,
No,
that
I'm
sort of
not
rhetoric?
like that.
No.
I'm actually not that player. I would more so do it if I was like playing my friend. I'd like run at my friend kind of thing. But I don't actually hate conflict.
Right.
It's probably something I need to work on a little bit more. Like if I accidentally pull someone's hair, I'll apologise. Like I'm probably a little bit.
So you're like
that.
almost like a Jake Trebojevic, just really nice.
He's way nicer than me.
Snap people and apologise.
So
somewhere in between there. I probably need to take it a bit more personally.
Do you have, are there a lot of women that are that way inclined? Because again, it's just, stereotypically not the natural female inclination
Yeah, we
to
didn't
be
grow up like bashing
hyper
each other.
aggressive
Yeah.
and looking for confrontation in that sense. Is there still a fair bit of that in the...
There's still, I feel like because a lot of the players that we play with, we've played with at some point, we're friends with, we've played against them with, and we're in camp and that kind of thing. So everyone knows each other kind of thing. Whenever you... Until now that there's more teams in the comp, it's like we're not going to know everyone's first and last name, star sign kind of thing.
Star sign. I love star sign.
Star sign's important.
No, it's very important.
Star signs,
absolutely. What are you?
They are important. I'm a Taurus.
Oh, Taurus, Gemini.
You Gemini.
Aquarius.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what any of them mean outside of my own. Oh, Taurus is a bull.
Taurus is a bull. Keely Davis, she is the New South Wales hooker. One of my best friends. Every morning, kid you not, in Origin camp, so for 2 weeks, she has these animal spirit cards. She's so in touch. I don't think she is. She's just got these cards. She shuffles them. She can't even shuffle right. She reads everyone's energy for the day, and she's really into it. So
that's great. I wonder who's the MC of energy in the male Origin camp. Who's getting the animal cards out. Probably Freddie, to be honest.
Well, it was.
He's really in
I don't know
touch.
if it is anymore.
Right.
Well, listen, he seemed to be way more woo-woo when he started.
Yeah.
And then he seemed less woo-woo as the seasons went on.
He needs to go back to a bit more woo-woo. That's sort of...
I feel like he was kind of still doing the woo-woo, like the walking, earthing,
barefoot. But is he... I haven't seen a barefoot blue in...
They used to, remember back when he first started, they'd walk from the hotel to the ground, they'd have their shoes off the whole time.
Yeah.
There would have been horoscopes and energy readings and tarot,
mind-altering
readings and all that
We
sort of
thought
thing.
they were probably on mushrooms most of the time. I don't know. Look.
We've done tarot readings on our live streams before,
Have
and
you?
Some people have got some cards that
that
hit
were-
pretty close to home.
My brother got one of the most. He was on with the live streamers. He got one of the most fucked up cards. It was like a kid like sitting at the window all sad, and he's like, he was going to get one. He goes, "No, I'll get one from underneath," and then pulls his out, and it's like this dark, and he was like, "Ugh."
Who even like makes them? You know what I mean? Like they're
I
just
know.
making them up.
Yeah, I know. Let's
Sorry.
make them all just fucking a little bit more positive.
Like
than
you could probably even make your own, sell them. Like
They're well written
That's
though.
actually not a bad
to make
idea.
you have some type of connection to
Yes,
it.
exactly. So you
You're
read
like,
it,
yeah,
you go,
that could be me.
That is me. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
how,
like
They're
that's
well-
even
they're-
how like your mentalist people work.
I think it's called a Barnum yarn or something like
Right.
that.
So they
you-
say something pretty generic that anyone could relate to,
Yeah.
and then you think, you know,
You've nailed me.
I heard someone talking about it as like one that they will, not necessarily one, but it was, I guess, like sort of exemplifying the idea. It would be like, do you drink much water? And you're like, oh, I actually really need to drink more. They're like, yeah, that's what they're telling me. But you could have just gone, I love water. And they're going, yeah, well, that's what she's telling me. You love drinking water. It's like, well, of course you're fucking drinking
right.
water. Like,
Oh, is he like the psychics and stuff?
Yeah.
I'm actually a fan of psychics. I
Oh,
think
so
they're
am I.
different. I think they're different.
I think there's
So I think there's-
psychics and then there's people
No,
who
I
are like
think
people
there
that are
can
in it
be.
for the money.
There can be good ones.
There can be good ones.
Yeah.
If you find a good one, you know which ones are the good ones? The ones where I've got this one chick, I've seen her twice. She has been on the money. Pass you on her dates later. She does it over the phone, okay? So she cannot see your reaction. Like, I'll be like this, like, shocked,
you're wigging.
but she can't see me.
Yeah.
And I just play it cool. And
she nails it.
And she nails it. Okay.
It's freaky. You've
My
got to
missus
be.
went to one the other day as well, and she was
Did
like,
she?
She's
like,
highly regarded. My
Yeah.
sister's seen her a couple of
Yeah,
times.
right.
Seen her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's
She
Grace
was- she
Dumbrell
was-
seen her.
she
But
was
everyone
blown
wanting to
away.
go see these psychics just.
I went to one once at a school fair. This chick was, I was 13. It was so unnecessary. The
13
shit this chick
at a
said to me,
school fair.
she was like, don't get on a plane in your 50th year of life. I'm like,
And now you won't.
What?
She's just ruled
fuck
that out.
no, I'm
for
not
you.
getting, no, I'm
way.
absolutely not.
That is a great sign.
She was like, you're going to get a bad knee injury when you're fucking like in your teens.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
No.
I did. I broke my leg.
No,
I
you
broke my knee.
didn't.
I did, yeah.
I didn't think they were allowed to tell you bad stuff.
No,
Dude,
they can.
completely fucking rattled me. And then she goes, when you're in your 30s, people close to you are all going to go to prison, but you choose to step away from it
No.
and don't do it. I'm like,
Are you kidding me?
I'm looking over
Has
my
it
shoulder
happened right now?
constantly.
Yeah?
Well,
You haven't told me that one. What are we wrapped up in here? Mate?
yeah, well, I don't know. I'm trusting you, buddy. Mate, no, look, so far, so good. I mean, look, technically there is potentially someone.
They could like.
Well, listen.
There is potential. We won't.
Listen, we won't. Is that for now?
No.
Listen, how long you got, Millie?
Well, and you're still in your 30s.
Yeah, so I've got some
could,
time to
you know,
avoid it, and
yeah.
but I'm constantly looking over my
So
shoulder.
this was a chick at the school
yeah,
fair.
at a school fair. It was all pretty negative. We think
Yeah.
about it. That wasn't.
You were going there to see.
You know, like maybe what girl is gonna like? Have I got a crush on a girl? You know, and it's
that,
just like,
and she
nah.
gave you some heavy shit.
really heavy shit.
When you broke your leg, were you like, holy shit, the psychic
Yeah.
told me I was going
Yeah,
to
well,
do
I was
this.
like, I said it to my mum. I think I was like, "Do you remember that fucking psychic?" I was like, she said I was going to have a bad knee injury or bad leg injury or something. You know, she was like, "Oh yeah," and then there was.
Yeah, but do you trust your memory? You also thought your sister went to New Zealand to try it for high five or something, which never happened.
So I could have sworn I've got this memory implanted in my brain that my sister flew to New Zealand to try to audition for Power Rangers.
Power Rangers.
Do you remember Power Rangers
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah. But in New Zealand. That's
Never
just
happened.
random.
It
Did they
never
do
happened.
anything in New Zealand?
Never happened.
I told her, I think I said on a podcast once, like, yeah, I think my sister went to New Zealand. And then she heard it, or I asked her, she's like, what the fuck are you talking? That never happened. I'm like, I don't trust a single thing
So
I
wait, the
remember now.
psychic told you that?
No, she didn't tell the Power Rangers.
But now I'm saying
He's just questioning it.
maybe this
maybe
psychic's
she
all
put that
bullshit.
in.
You know what I mean? Maybe he broke his knee, puts the memory in. Who knows?
No.
Okay.
Trust me, the psychic thing is real because there's other things there. I can't get in a plane when I'm 50. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not making that shit up. Next up, to round us out, the one and only Willie Mason. He talks dogs of war, salary cap scandals of the Bulldogs, and he probably says fuck a few times. So were you part of the team that lost all the fucking points?
Yeah.
So was that 2001? 2002, then you guys won it.
To 04.
04.
Yeah,
What's
so
that like? That must have been
that must
crazy,
have been man.
fucked. Where you're just going like, oh
So,
my god.
because we had like you go through that team and it was like, it wasn't a star-studded team, but it was a
full of fucking OGs and like young talent. Like I was coming through, Braith was coming through, Matt Utah was coming through. Brent Sherwin was still reasonably young. Who's that?
Was it Tonga there?
No, you had Nigel Vungen, you had Willie Talau.
Oh, yeah, right. Shit.
Hasm, you had like Pricey, O'Mealy, myself, Steve Reardon, Glenn Hughes, Darren Smith, real fucking old school dudes, but with mix of like Paul Rahihi, all these guys, Big Ra. But we were just defensive fucking based. Just like, I think we defended like 8 sets of 6 one time.
Jesus Christ.
I was like, and we were fit, and it was just based. That's what Bulldogs football is based on. Just defense, and then fucking breaking their will, and then going down and scoring a try. You know what I mean? Like it was just, we just had a really well balanced side. Won 17 games in a row. You'd be wrapped if you won two or three in this day and age.
Yeah, I know. 17.
17's outrageous.
And then you get, and then what? They find out you fucking.
So fucking 6 games before the end of the year. I think we're on 44 points, and we still had like 6 games to go.
How clear of second
we're clear, like fucking
44 points is
8.
so many.
Oh Jesus!
44
huge.
points is a shitload.
Yeah, by the
huge.
end of the season, Dogs had won 20 games. The Warriors came first, and they won 17.
Wow.
And best attack by about 30 points.
There you go.
And we fucking give up. Like, just say the back end, we were just like, who gives a shit? I was just like, let's just fucking not play.
Yeah, right. Well,
So how did
you
they
find
break
out?
that to? Yeah.
Well, I remember we just played Para, and we pumped them, of course. And then we're at the Canterbury swimming pool, doing the rehab and all that sort of shit. And it was fucking more than like, when you don't see the sports people, you see the TV guys. That's when you know you're in shit.
Yeah, right.
When you say when you start making sport pages and you start making the news, that's when you're in shit.
Fuck,
that's what Wayne always said. He goes, when you start making front pages instead of back, you're fucked up. And we were fucking front and back, and it was like, and we didn't know. We honestly didn't know.
Yeah.
We didn't care where your
As if
money's
you
coming
would.
from,
Yeah.
man. Like, we didn't know until they fucking put out like what everyone was on. I was like, ooh. Shit.
Because no one really talks about how much.
Like you sort of hear rumors. Oh, yeah, he signed for like, the highest paid would have been like 400 back then. That was massive.
Yeah.
400, 450, 500 maybe. That would be like huge contract then. Because the fucking salary cap was only 3.2.
Far out, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I think we were like 2 million over. But it was all back pay. I think it was something like something ridiculous, because all these guys they brought it out in the papers like what everyone was on. Then I was like, because we had grounds to leave, and then I was like, well, I just started playing for Australia and stuff like that, and I'm like, he doesn't play for Australia, so I want more than him. So I got a pay rise, or I'm walking.
So you're going to pay more. You're going to pay everyone more. They're already over.
They had to pay me more. Yeah, they did. I was just like, see that guy there? He hasn't played for Australia, and I want more than him.
Yeah, wow.
And they're like, okay.
Because all the amounts came out.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, so like guys that would play like Braith and myself, and like the young kids were only 21, and like, no, I want.
Yeah, I need some of that. Thank you very much.
And we got pay rise.
Was everyone ropeable?
Were you pissed off?
We're just pissed off at the fucking administration, really.
Yeah.
Like, how'd you let this slip? And I know why. It was just greed, and it was like, I think that Constantinides, whatever his name is, a Greek guy developer, so they let him in. They were trying to build that Oasis thing out in Liverpool. So this was happening about the fucking 99, 2000. They were trying to move us out there, right? They were building it. So I'm paraphrasing here, and this is all allegedly shit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But not really. So they had this guy put in tens of millions into this development, right? He had all the documents on what players were on, right? So usually the Bulldogs keep that shit tight, never let any outsiders in. They've let this guy in. He brought down the fucking the Prime Minister.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's not going to bring us down? Fucking hell. So he had all the contracts and everything like that. So they've tried to fuck him off, get his money. They try to like screw him over, and he's like,
Okay.
If you don't pay X, whatever, this is going to whatever. Obviously, they fucking pissed him off to that far where he just gone bang.
All blew up. Who tells you? Like, do you find out you're just in shit in the papers, and then it's like a couple of weeks before the NRL takes points away and all that?
Yeah, it was nearly pretty much straight away with that.
Yeah, right.
Because it was fucking.
It was all there. So brazen.
He had it. Yeah, it was just like, okay, well, this is what everyone's on the next day.
Yeah, right.
Because usually coming up, we're going, oh, you got your points. They're threatening to take your points off you, all this sort of shit. So what for? Like we didn't know. We just hung over as fuck too. Like we just come up to rehab. Everyone's just like, fucking, what are you talking about? Bit rattled, and I was like, oh, this will blow over. Who cares? And then fucking it didn't.
Was it hard to get come back the next year, and then obviously the year after when you?
Oh yeah, but it was like sort of it drove us. That's what folks in. We had a really good playing group, man. We had some good leaders in some good positions and like good coach. Like folks, he was just a real fucking siege mentality. That's what he had. Fuck everyone else. We'll do it our way. You know what I mean? Like, and we had him, and we didn't have like now you got like fucking 50 coaches, where you just had that one guy that you listen to. And he was he was like the guy, like, he was one of the toughest blokes, dogs of war, all that sort of shit, like like Hall of Famer player, all that kind of stuff.
Did he coin that phrase, dogs of war, or was that a media thing?
No, I think it was we got anointed with the dogs of war because as a forward pack, you always wanted that, but you don't call yourself that. You know what I mean? You feel like a fuckwit.
Yeah.
Like Peter Kelly and all these guys, they come out and said, they're the dogs of war. They're the new dogs of war. Because in the 80s,
that was
the shit. Like Gillespie, fucking Peter Kelly, Tunks, all these blokes just used to really just fucking kill people. And folks, he was a really integral part of that. And, to be anointed with that meant a heap to a player. So yeah, you get anointed with that. You don't come out and go, we're the dogs of war. Otherwise they'll come at you. We used to muck around with folks. I said, fucking, because you used to go, I would fucking love to play you. I said, I would run over you easily, folksy. I said, folksy, how heavy were you in your day? Oh, about 89 kilos. I'm 118 kilos. I can move like a fucking back. I'll run straight over you. Oh, it goes, I'll fucking lower and just fucking crack your ribs. I said, I'll break your shoulder. You and your fiberglass shoulder pads. He was good, buddy. Because we used to stir it, because he was like part, obviously, the 80s, and then we were like that 2000 group. I said, hey, body shapes, fucking, who's going to stop fucking Ogre? Sonny Bill. Me. Fucking pricey, Roy Asatasi. I said, please, come on, folks, you be real.
It was a hectic side you had.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. We had a good side, man.
That 2014, you go back.
Oh, it's a nice side.
It's a fucking side.
So it's just a well balanced side, right?
Yeah.
You had guys like Sonny and Rennie and that on the bench. You had guys like Tony Grimaldi and Corey Hughes starting because that's how it balanced out.
Yes.
You can't have like a bunch of superstars in the pack.
Even someone like Luke Patton, who was a great fullback. He was your fullback, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But he never played rep footy though, did he? But he was someone who was like always, you could always say like Dylan Edwards in the sense of someone who's like,
he's a Dylan Edwards.
Was really good, system. Really well respected, but just like didn't go.
He'd always be in the leadership groups. He'd always be highly respected, but there would be no rep games.
Yeah.
Because he played in an era, you had Minnie, you had Carmichael Hunt, you had all these great players ahead of him. Lockie only just give his fullback spot up in 2004. But general, you wouldn't swap him for many fucking players. Because he goes at it.
He was good.
And he's a good leader, very vocal. And he leads by example. Like he fucking scored like 130 tries and he's very underrated.
Hope you enjoyed that all talk best of punters and dribblers. Enjoyed. Hopefully you enjoyed that. You enjoyed. Did you forget to take those golf clubs home yesterday?
Yeah.
Not the point, punters and dribblers. Hope you enjoyed it. We would encourage you, implore you even, to go back and listen to all the episodes if you haven't.
Demand you.
Yeah, we demand. If you haven't heard them, go back and listen to them. It's good shit. Good, honest shit.
Oh, they're elite. They're great. I mean, best interviews in the business, Tom and I. I think that goes without saying. So just go listen to our work.
Go enjoy us.
Bathing us.
Bye.
Drinking us.
Could you two just not talk anymore?